Hello.
How are you both? It's good to meet you.
Good, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Thank you for doing this. Appreciate you taking the time to have a chat.
Thank you.
We're really, really enjoying the new music from you both. So excited to talk with you all about the new album. So how excited are you to be putting out music first of all as Jackson and Sellers? An exciting time for you.
Super fun.
Yeah.
Somebody said, "Oh, the record comes out next week," and she was like, "Next week."
What? No, crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's happened
so-
fast. We recorded it like literally a year ago in
Yeah.
October. So
It's been almost exactly a year,
Mhm.
so that's
Yeah.
super fun.
How
And
does
we
it
got-
feel? How does it feel at this point to be getting ready to release an album just a week away? Do the nerves start setting in?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It feels weird. It feels weird because it's like such a still a weird time that it's like we were supposed to be on tour this month and it got canceled. So it's like a weird like
it's a weird.
it's not
world
bad.
right now.
Yeah, it's not bad. It just feels different than it normally does. I feel like it doesn't feel like the same like
Hmm.
trajectory.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I mean, we're excited that it's coming out. We already have like 3 songs out and this response has been good. So we even had like an early, I don't think they were supposed to, but somebody put up an early album review. So that was cool. It was good. So we're excited.
And so tell us a little bit about how the duo came about because you're both fantastic artists in your own right. So how did you kind of come together and create this thing?
Yeah, we met at well, we didn't meet, but I played before her at Americana Fest in 2019, and we followed each other on Instagram. And then not too long after, you can tell the story.
Yeah. So have you been out to Americana Fest?
Not to Americana Fest, no. I'm desperate to get out there for it.
Oh, you'd love it. Well, I'm sure you're familiar with like the whole festival like style as an artist is your team usually tries to get you as many shows as possible. So I was run a little ragged. We had done some other shows that day and I sort of like stumbled into the venue and like looked up on stage because I was on next and she was performing. And my initial reaction was like, why is she on before me? Because she was killing it and she had like this big band and like she was just like on stage. I just became an instant fan. I'd never heard of her before. So anyway, like Aubrie said, we started following each other and I had this song I was preparing for my next record and going through songs and there was this one that was real special to me because I wrote it about my little sister. It's a song Hush. And I just envisioned really strong female harmonies, which is something I've never really experimented with. And so I just DM'd her on Instagram and then like right as I did that, I saw like the little dots going and I couldn't believe that she was responding so quickly. And then when I sent her the song and she loved it, like we ended up meeting up like 3 days later and then she showed me one of her songs and like we literally just met and then we ended up having a sleepover and recording 2 of the songs, like 2 little demos, sent it to my label, like hoping that they would like give us money to record one single, or something like that. And then they came right back and asked us to do a record and we were like, oh, okay. So yeah.
Since the beginning, it's been like people have just responded really well to it. Like it feels
Mhm.
like there hasn't been very many obstacles, which is not really what I feel like you're used to as an artist.
Yeah.
Like it's like everyone has just been like, we love it, and we're
Yeah.
like, you do.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I feel like there's something for everyone on the album as well. It's such a diverse record. And do you guys have very different musical backgrounds or do you share very similar influences?
I think we share pretty similar influences.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I grew up in traditional country, and she listened to a lot of Hank Williams and stuff that her dad listened to, right?
Yeah, my dad was super obsessed with traditional country.
And then obviously I'm hugely rock influenced and you are as well. So
Yeah.
we kind of, yeah, that was kind of what we shared in common. I think it's also part of why we um, connected so instantly. And like when she sent me Hush, sometimes when people send you music, you're kind of scared because if you don't like it, what do you say? How do I get out of
Like,
this?
this is really good.
Yeah.
I'm busy.
But I really liked it, and I think part of what I like so much about Jade is that she's from a fairly small town, right? Smallish
Mhm.
town in California, and has been in a way she's been doing this for a long time, but not around a lot of music business people and things like that. And I think that's good because I feel like it's kept her from collaborating in a good way. I feel like she writes by herself a lot, and I think that really contributes to her kind of singular voice. So And that's why I liked your music. And so I think, yeah, we had a lot of the same influences that came out in that way.
Very cool. I was reading the piece that NPR did on you guys, and you were described as blistering rock and roll. But how would you describe the whole sound of this record generally? Is there going to be lots of different sort of influences in there?
Yeah, it definitely pushed more rock than either. I mean, we've obviously had rock influence on both of our solo albums or projects, but this pushed even more in that direction. And I think because that's what we shared in common and what is unique about us and within the Americana genre, it kind of pushed naturally that way. And we had some influences and stuff, but she'll talk about how like it was kind of an organic process.
Yeah, I have a mic. No, just kidding. No, well, the record was produced by Aubrie and Ethan Bollinger, who plays like all the guitars on the record. And you know, I think like we mentioned to you earlier, just everything happened so fast, and we did both have like an element of rock and a love for like in both of our music that you could kind of like pick apart and find or point at. And so we just like took that bit, like that part of ourselves and combined it to create this record. And what was so cool for me was how, you know, if you listen to Aubrey's voice, like she has like the most beautiful voice I've ever heard. But then you put all these like, you know, guitars and pedals behind it, and it's still authentic, and it still like feels like it's meant to be there. Like I feel like this record can show people that you can like take two different ingredients that you wouldn't necessarily think would go together and then create something cool. And like I feel like we made like our own little sound, and it was just such a fun process. It was very experimental, different from how I've worked before in the studio. Like I didn't have any fear. Like I'm sure you're aware, I've had the opportunity to work with like punk legend Mike Ness, and when you're in a studio with him, it's a little intimidating. But, like, being in this environment, creating this record, I felt more like an equal, and I felt like we could be more experimental and like just mess around a little bit more. And I think that became the sound of the record. It was just like fun, experimental, messy, random, all just wrapped up together.
Yeah, you just mentioned there about working with Ethan Ballinger, and this is probably more of a question for you, Aubrie, because you co-produced, but how did that dynamic between you guys help to bring the sound to life? Because I feel like it's a really good match for you.
Yeah, Ethan played on my last record and has been playing live with me for probably 5 years or something now. And so we had worked on an EP that I put out at the end of 2020, but that was the only thing that we had produced together before. And he's just an incredible player and incredible producer. I can't wait to see what more he does, because he's just like, I feel like he's starting to take off, and I'm like excited for him. But yeah, we kind of put together a little list of influences, and we went through the songs, and Jade sent us a lot of songs of hers that we kind of went through and listened to, and that's how we found Waste Your Time, which ended up being like my favorite song on the record and the radio single. And I feel like we had some influences. We had some David Bowie and some glam rock and some things on there, and a lot of 60s and 70s kind of drum and bass tones and things that honestly Ethan was kind of it was a lot different. I normally go for really trashy room sounding kind of drums and stuff, and on this record we kind of went for more muted, something you would hear on like a 60s and 70s vinyl, which actually when we went to listen to the test pressing of the vinyl, we were like, this record was made for vinyl. So we wait for the vinyl to come out in December. But yeah, so it was just a process of us. We did have some influences and some ideas going into it as far as production and the overall sound, but a lot of what actually happens on the record happens with the players in the room and us experimenting.
And I wanted to ask you about The Devil is an Angel, Julie Miller track that you put on there. You've put your own spin on that. Tell us about the process of recreating that song for yourselves, and how much fun that process was.
Yeah, so Julie Miller is one of my favorite artists and songwriters ever, and I've loved that song for a long time, but we were kind of going through filling out the album, because we had most of the songs at that point, I think. And I was like, I love the song, and Ethan started playing that kind of rock riff that he plays at the beginning, and we played it like that and recorded a little voice memo of it, and I was like, I was instantly in love with it, the vibe that he kind of played, and I sent it to Jade, and Jade can talk about how she doesn't normally do covers.
Yeah, I feel like I've always been, I did, grew up in a small town. There's only like 1,100 people now. It was less when I was a kid, and I was just so bored that I just took to songwriting as like my main entertainment, and then it just kind of started moving at a rapid pace. And now, 17 years later, I have a lot of songs, and when you get a record deal and all these things, you only have like 10 spots to put them every like couple years. So I've always been like, why would we do somebody else's song if we have all these songs that we've written? But I was also, the whole nature of this process, I'm very open and just like curious, because I was collaborating for the first time, like with these people that I admire. And I feel like when they steered the ship toward the direction of no, like, let's do these covers, I was like, okay, sure. And then once I was standing there in the studio singing it and like listening to it all come together, I was just like, oh, like my hat's off to you. Like that was such a good decision, because it was such a, I probably do much more of it now in the future, having had this great experience with taking a song and making it your own. And I think her and Ethan just, have a really good imaginative ear for how things can sound at the end.
Yeah, very cool. And I wanted to chat with you about the live shows as well, because you've been doing some shows recently. Towards the end of last month, you did some stuff in Nashville, didn't you? So tell us about how those shows were, how it feels to be back out on stage, and what the reaction of the fans was at this point.
Yeah, normally like when you have a new band or new anything, it can be kind of rusty, when you're starting, but like I feel like everything went pretty smoothly for us playing for the first time. And we played, our first show was in Alabama, right? And I kept saying Kentucky. It's not Kentucky.
Oh, I thought it was Kentucky. I keep saying
it's Alabama, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we played there, but we also got to play Americana Fest, a few shows there, which is where we met, obviously, and they haven't had it since we met because they didn't have it last year.
Yeah.
So that was super cool, and Americana Fest is always great because it's like music fans, a lot of really super music fans. So yeah, anyway, the shows went great. We've had fun playing together, but we had a whole tour that was supposed to happen this October that got canceled. So things are still not really back to normal. I mean, even at Americana Fest, it was noticeably not that as many people as usual. So we're just kind of going with the flow. We have a live stream that we're going to do on the 24th. It's going to be us with the band that we recorded the record with at the studio we recorded the record at. So that's super cool. And I think we're doing Q&A afterwards. So we're just doing things like that where we can play the record for people live and, in any way that we can right now.
Yeah, we need to get you both in the UK as well at some point.
Oh,
I know you're both probably familiar with the UK scene. I know Aubrie in particular, you've really made an effort over the years to come over. So is that something you'd both like to do at some point?
For sure. I love the UK. I'd come over there and tour all year if I could.
It's really fun. Yeah, I remember that my first experience there was my band and I, like, I've been doing music for a bit, but we had only really had like our debut album out. I don't even know if it was out. And like we did a couple headlining tours in the US, and like sometimes you'd sell like 2 tickets. So then all of a sudden we had this tour booked in the UK, and I was like, if we're selling 2 tickets in like our country, there's gonna be like -10 people there. How is this gonna work? And then we showed up, and like you guys like came out, and it was like, I feel like, not to diss my country, but you can always kind of tell when it's a Tuesday or a Monday or a Sunday when you're performing I've discovered and here. But over there, I was like, Tuesdays were like Saturdays. Like you guys stayed out late, like we were just there to party. It was so much fun. Like you guys were just, yeah, I had a great experience. So.
Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed we can make that happen at some point. That'd be awesome.
Exactly.
But ladies, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for doing this today. I appreciate you taking the time, and best of luck with the new album.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome to talk to you.
Come to Americana Fest next year.
Yeah.
I will do. I'm so desperate to get over there. I've got to make it happen. I will do.
Yeah.
Thank you both.